Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast. This is Pete.
This is Derek.
And we are here today, brothers, to talk about video games. Not a ton of news really today, but we're going to talk about a whole world of topics today, Derek. And you know what? I've been playing a lot of games, like a real lot of video games.
I've been playing a few different ones this past few weeks too.
Oh, really? Like I've got like over 5 games on my list here, so.
Okay, I've got like 4.5.
Sweet. Okay. Well, let's get into some news. There's been a little bit of news recently on the Nintendo front. They just announced Paper Mario 64 is coming to Switch Online 64 on December 10th.
Okay.
Is this going to make you go for it?
I'm certainly not going to get the Nintendo Switch Online, but I really do love Paper Mario 64. So it's a step in the right direction, but it's still about probably 15 games too short for me.
How do you feel about the fact that it's just one game and not 2 or 3,
Yeah, it's kind of like, how slow of a drip are they going to give us? Yeah, we'll see. Like, again, I'm not going to purchase anything until there's enough content there for me to jump in, especially games that, like, Paper Mario or even Ocarina of Time or even Majora's Mask, like, they're all cool to have, but I've had those games multiple times on multiple virtual consoles or, just all those kind of different ways you can have them.
Totally.
And I'm looking for the games like I've mentioned before, like Banjo-Kazooie or Blast Corps or Conker's Bad Fur Day, like just games. Or Winback is kind of one of those, a good example of the games that I just don't have another way to play that are kind of like, I do want to play those games again.
Yeah, the funny thing is with a lot of these games, like, you said Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, even Banjo, even Blast Corps, like, there's better places to play them. Like, they've been upgraded. Like, I almost don't ever want to play Ocarina of Time 64 again.
Yeah.
But to me, the one I really want to play is F-Zero X. And pretty much the moment that comes out, I'll probably pay for a month.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool to do.
But I think it's going to be one game a month. That's kind of my thought.
So yeah, and that's okay. I just won't, I'll wait a year and then get a chance to play, all of them.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's only really 15 or so N64 games that they can really release left.
I was thinking the same. It's like, the barrel's not that deep for N64 games. I don't know about this. It's Sega Genesis, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, the kind of games that are on Sega Genesis, but maybe they have a few of those coming too.
Yeah, I would imagine they're going to drip feed for the whole year, and then maybe next September, they're going to bring Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. Hopefully, that's what I really want is Game Boy Advance, because there's a lot of classics on that.
Yeah, I agree. Game Boy Advance would probably get me to jump on. I still think the price is crazy though for what it's offering, but we've talked about that to death before.
Yeah, exactly. Paper Mario. That's kind of the only Nintendo news. The only other Nintendo news I can really think of is that Pokemon, the remakes, Solid Diamond and Shining Pearl. Brilliant Diamond, and Shining Pearl. I think Shining Pearl is one of the worst names. Selling insanely well, almost on par with Sword and Shield in some markets.
Do you think it's because of the quality of the game, which is obviously no? But I think it's probably just the Switch effect. The Switch games sell better on the Switch for some reason.
Well, I think it's also just Pokemon fans are growing.
True.
It's like Pokemon Go put a real boost in that. And, it's not, I think it's just getting bigger and bigger. But the real question is, there's a lot of debate I see online about whether or not Pokemon Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl are going to outsell Legends Arceus in January. So there's a lot of debate about that. Some people think Pokemon Legends Arceus is going to be the best-selling Pokemon game ever. Some people are not so sure because it's a spin-off. What do you think?
Well, first question is, are you comparing it to one of the two games or both of the Pokemon games combined?
Is there not two versions of is it not Legends Arceus Blue and Legends Arceus Red?
I don't think so. I think there's just one.
That's a good point, because a lot of people will buy both, right?
Yeah, so I think that's one thing to think about. But
sorry, quick question: when they have the sales figures, when they release them for Sword and Shield, they're combining them, aren't they?
I think they are, but I think you can, like, when you see like media crates or Japan sales, they separate them.
But overall, I think when people consider the sales of a
Yeah,
Pokemon release,
I
they
think
think about both of them and like dash the other one because
yeah, I think they combine them. You're right.
and someone can buy both, I guess, because
And there's a 2-pack and stuff. I really don't know. I'm like, I can see Legends Arceus doing really well because one, I know how crazy people are for Monster Hunter games, and apparently it's it's somewhat along those lines. And people also just any 3D open world Pokemon game where there's actually Pokemon in the wild, despite how sparse the trees are and the draw distance and all the issues that the game will undoubtedly have. It is the first like step in such a right direction that people might just support it also because they want that direction to keep going. And I think people are also intrigued, right? I think intrigue will sell a lot of this to a lot of people. Like I have friends that they're not really Pokemon fans and buying the mainline games, but they like Pokemon. And this game's kind of like, oh, it's different enough and interesting enough that they want to see what it's all about.
I mean, to me, when I look at it, it just kind of looks like the wild area from Sword and Shield and the DLC from Sword and Shield, but like a little bit different.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more to it. And I think there's a bit more wild Pokemon's actually interacting in the area, like doing things, as opposed to just like them kind of standing there and you walking up to them to battle.
Okay, well that sounds pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see exactly. Are you gonna get it? Is that?
I mean, I'm totally depending on reviews and the reception. I mean, I'd have to get really exceptional reviews for me to be interested,
I agree.
I think. Because I mean, the standard for Pokemon is so low. Even if it gets like an 82 to 85, it's like that just means it's probably mediocre.
Yeah, it's like every other Pokemon. Yeah, exactly.
And it looks really mediocre. I don't know. We'll see. Probably not. But I actually think that the remakes, these two remakes will probably end up selling more. And I wouldn't be surprised if these remakes end up, well, they might not outsell Sword and Shield, but they're going to sell really, really well. And I think by just that fact alone, you mentioned that the two of them are separate releases and so many people buy both, is going to make the remakes more popular in the end. I mean, like, think about it. Pokemon fans like Jordan, he bought both. And he's crushing both. And I don't know if he even plans to get Arceus. He didn't get Pokemon Snap. He wants that classic Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon game. Snap is very different than Legends Arceus. I think he might actually get Legends Arceus.
I guess we'll see. He's our barometer on how.
Yeah.
We should ask him.
We should.
The other big news from today is that today marks a very important day because Halo Infinite released.
At a weird time, right?
1 p.m. I tried to do the old New Zealand trick where you change your console to a new.
But it was a global time.
It's a global time for 1 p.m. And then the annoying thing was at 1 p.m. You couldn't even preload it, and it's like 28 gigabytes.
Everyone was trying to do it at the same time.
And at 1 p.m. you got like an update that was 4 gigabytes, and then in the game when you go to campaign, you were able to download it from there. So it's like a little bit weird. I kind of get it, but it's a little bit of a. I don't know. In my opinion, they would have been better off maybe just releasing the online at the same day and making a big, clean release out of it.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's a lot of hype kind of deflated by the multiplayer having been out for almost a month. But anyways, before I jump into my impressions, because I've been playing it all day, it has an 86 on Metacritic. It did pretty well. Have you looked at any of this, Derek? What are your thoughts?
I saw the review scores. I haven't, and I know kind of the general people's thoughts on it and what the gameplay kind of loop is. But as you know, I recently pre-ordered an Xbox Series X, so I'm gonna try to kind of wait it out and wait to get a play it myself.
When do you think that's gonna arrive?
It depends whenever. I think I'm pretty low, like high up on the list. So I think I'm like probably number 1 through 5 for the Xbox Series X from that one store, GameStop. So it just depends whenever they get Xbox Series X's in. Okay,
well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really stoked for it.
Yeah, you got a couple good ones to play. Yeah, like anyways, in other news, we'll talk about Halo a little later in our what we've been playing. In other news, PlayStation, it's been kind of rumored that they are going to have a subscription plan similar to Game Pass, but not similar to Game Pass. Apparently, it's going to have it's a PS Plus and PS Now maybe some older games, other deals, sales, perks, things like that. But it's not quite a Game Pass where day one releases and everything are going to be there.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
I mean, I like it partially because I'm already paying for PS Plus. I'll see what the cost is. I've been on the fence about canceling my PS Plus because I don't really play online games on PlayStation, and I don't really like the PS Plus games that they like. You know,
It's been really lacking on that.
Yeah,
front.
it has. One of my friends just got a PS5, so it might compel me to actually stay playing online with him. But yeah, so like I don't like I it sounds cool. I could see it like, you know, if it's 6 months old games are on it, that's okay with me. It probably isn't for me because most of those games I'll probably get day one or I'll collect myself because I just like to collect them.
Well, you know what I think. You know what I think it'll end up being is if you pay for PS Plus the way you do now, you get to have just like the monthly releases. But if you pay for this subscription plan, you'll probably be able to download the PS Plus games from the past months, and that'll be the collection of games.
Well, like PlayStation Now has a lot of other games too.
But isn't PlayStation Now is just streaming older games, isn't it? Isn't that a completely different?
I know, but it's still. I don't know quite the technology behind it, but I think you're right. It's just streaming older games. But it's like I can't play, for example, Jack and Daxter 3 right now, but with PS Now I could.
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, again, it's not really for me because I don't need to spend that. I'm already gonna have Game Pass. It just doesn't really compel me. But for those that want it, awesome. If anything, I'm going the opposite direction and going to cancel my PS Plus. But I'm intrigued. Like if it blows me away and it actually does, you know, what I want it to, then sure, I'll get it for sure.
I mean, if you get Game Pass, you pretty much get online play like Xbox Live with that.
Exactly. That's
so,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it honestly sounds kind of like a haphazard attempt to what Microsoft's doing. I mean,
yeah, like they should either do it. They should either do it all the way and do exactly what Game Pass is, or don't do it at all. Like, you know.
Yeah, like I gotta say, if there was a PlayStation Plus kind of pay scheme or whatever that I could do, where I could buy a PS5
And
pay
get
every
day one
month,
games.
pay every month $15 and have every one of their big games, that sounds great to me.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's almost a reason for me to buy the digital version, which will be a lot easier to find.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why would I ever buy the non-disc version when, you know, the price? I'll just never be able to buy used games.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I just don't know if that like people always say, is it sustainable? Is Microsoft just taking a loss in order to get a number of subscriptions, and then they're going to find other ways to charge money out? Who knows, right?
I think they're making a killing right now.
I don't know. I mean, you got to think like the entire production of their video games is built in. A lot of it's built into the subscrition plan. That's why you don't see their games on the NPD list. Like I don't even think you're going to see Halo on the.
How many Xbox Series X's do you think have sold?
Probably like 9 million.
Okay, and let's say 7 million of those have Game Pass. Okay, so that's 70 million a month.
But think about the loss of game sales and software sales.
But they said they haven't seen that drastic of a loss in game sales.
But you look at if you look at the NPD top 10 release, like you don't see Xbox games on there anymore.
But how much do you think? But even still, 70 million a month is like nearing $1 billion a year. Who cares? They're making $1 billion in a year. There's a reason Netflix puts hundreds of millions of dollars into their shows and movies. It's a working subscription models work. You know, I think they're doing really well.
Yeah, well, it's working for me.
I mean, let's put it this way: it's better than before when Xbox had, you know, 2 exclusives and one of them was a 65 on Metacritic. You know, there's not like they're doing too hot in that regard. You know, where this at least like people can. I think this is a way better business model for Microsoft, at least until they get their first party exclusive lineup looking really strong and consistent. It hasn't quite got there yet.
Well, there's also other things like there are microtransactions on Halo and on Forza and things like that. And I think eventually, I mean, I don't know if you saw one of the complaints about Halo that there's not a lot of biomes. Like there's no like snow, winter and area,
desert and stuff. Yeah,
there's no desert. There's no city. So I actually think there's going to be DLC story campaigns sold.
Yeah, the one thing I read about that was interesting. Maybe you're about to say it, but what happens if you buy the DLC and then your Game Pass expires.
Well, you need to have the game to have the DLC. It's
I know, but then it becomes a weird ethical question of, you paid for content.
Well, not really though, because think of it this way: if I had a Wii U, and I bought Mario Kart 8, and then I paid for the upgrade would be tied to my Nintendo account. But then I sold the game back to the GameStop to get points. I'd still have those 2 extra downloadable DLC packs tied to my account, but I wouldn't have the game.
Yeah, it's a little bit different though, because when you bought the game, you had ownership of the game, where right now you'd have to pay a subscription to keep content that
you can go out and buy the game.
I know, but I agree. I'm just saying,
it's not like the game's not available on their store and you're totally screwed.
I totally agree. I just have read that people are, what is it? They're kind of thinking about the repercussions of buying DLC when they only own the game through a subscription, right? It's just something to, at least for consumers, to think about what it means for their purchases.
Well, I bought the DLC for Forza just so I could play it early. Well, and you're right. If I, well, it was cheap, and it was also, I don't know. For how many free games I get on Xbox, I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, I just mean you're now, even though you bought that content, you actually are still renting that content.
Well, I'm renting the full game that I'm allowed to. It's like I own the bathing suit, but I don't have a pool, so I have to still go to the pool and pay the rental to go to the pool. I have to pay to enter the pool because it's not my pool, but I still own a bathing suit that I get to wear in the pool.
Yeah, but you can only use that bathing suit at that pool, or else that bathing suit is useless.
Well, yeah, it's the only pool. This is Nazi Germany, 1942. I'm just kidding.
Where you? That was so...
I don't know what. This is all hypothetical. I guess it's just kind of like.
I guarantee we lost a listener for that joke.
Well, I just mean it in some world where you only have one pool. Or
yeah,
it's even the same as, let's say you go to what's called Dave and Buster's, and you buy one of their cards and have money on it. And it closes before you get to spend all of it. You have to come back. Like I have one of their cards with money on it, so because it closed. I don't think it's a big deal. Like, what you're doing when you buy it. I don't think it's unethical in any way. I don't think they owed me the game.
No, I know, but I don't know. I almost think if I'm renting the game, I should be the content with that game should be rented too alongside it. I shouldn't have to if I want to. You know what I mean? Like, there is something weird about.
So far, all of the Microsoft releases have had all their DLC for free.
I know.
So,
yeah,
the extra DLC for Gears
yet.
was what's called Hivebusters was free, and it was single player and multiplayer extra DLC in a new mode. Like, it was significant. It was completely free.
Yeah,
you have to pay for it if you want to buy it and buy it.
Again, this doesn't faze me. I don't care. I'll buy it if I want to play it or whatever. This doesn't really bother me. It's more just I've read that people are questioning this because it is something different, right? It's like Netflix, right? And let's say you went on Netflix right now and you had to buy a movie for $10.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't Disney Plus do that, where you have to buy Mulan for $30?
Probably. And I'm just saying, people do it. There is a backlash there, right? They're paying for a subscription to have access to watch the thing they've already bought.
Yeah, but I think in the terms of DLC, where it's like the game would cost $70, $80 and the DLC is $20, $30, it's not really fair to be like, hey, I bought the DLC, I want the $80 game. It's like,
I agree. No, I agree there. I'm just saying I would almost do it the opposite sense, where if I'm renting the game, if I'm paying a subscription to have the content of the game, give me all the content for that game until my subscription ends. I shouldn't have to buy something extra if I'm already paying the subscription that includes that game.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's one of those things where Microsoft's just really leaving that up to the developers.
Yeah,
because it's certainly not that way with most games, but I know that Microsoft does it. I just mean in terms of certain things like on Forza and even Halo, where you can pay for the battle pass and get extra skins and all that kind of crap. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff, like they need to make their money back, sort of.
Yeah,
right, with Halo.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Again, I think the subscription is making more money than you think, and I don't know. I don't think they're hurting.
I think it's crazy that I certainly would have bought a PS5, and here I am with an Xbox Series X, and I'm loving it. And like, Game Pass came out on Xbox One, and I didn't even realize what it was until I really looked into it, and I'm like, wow, this is a great deal. So
it's crazy to think that in our family we're gonna have 2 Xboxes and 1 PS5. Like you never would have thought that day would come. You know.
Well, I don't know.
I just mean I don't. To me, it's like I've never owned an Xbox console in my life.
Well, what's more for you is that you'll have all 3 consoles to line up next to each other. I will too eventually.
Yeah.
I just like to put an Xbox Series X next to a PS5 next to a Switch.
Oh yeah, that picture's going on social media for sure.
It's like you made it in life when, right? Exactly.
Yeah, the trifecta.
Okay, well let's move on here. I heard on another podcast a good question was asked, and they were asking, with something like Metroid Dread, where Nintendo took an older franchise of theirs that people kind of want that doesn't come out in a long time, and they give it like a good, solid AAA treatment and westernized release, kind of give people what they want. What game from Nintendo's back catalog do you want to see them do that to next?
To be totally honest, I I don't know if I would want just the old version of these games playable somehow, because I never got to play these, but also a continuation, a remake, or
I don't even mean that. I just mean like any type of redux, even if it's like a Metroid Prime or a Kid Icarus Uprising, like a total remake of a great old series. It doesn't have. It can be anything you want. Just like
for me, I want to try Eternal Darkness or Batten Kaitos.
Interesting. Okay.
Obviously
new one. You'd want a new one.
I just have never played those games, and they're really cool. Have cool systems behind them that I want to try. Of course, like a Metroid Prime remake is something high up on the list, or I would love to have a Link to the Past remade, but for
I don't think you're understanding the question. So it's basically an old series, like a Star Fox, Pikmin, one that hasn't been out in a while, coming back with like a really solid effort and treatment. So Zelda wouldn't count, Mario wouldn't count.
Oh, so it has to be like a dead franchise.
Yeah, it has to be like a nearly dead franchise. Like
okay, then
Earthbound,
I'd pick Eternal Darkness.
Okay, that's a good one. I was gonna say that's a good one. I don't think we will ever see Eternal Darkness, just because the creator, who's from St. Catharines, Ontario, he kind of stained his name. I don't know if you've heard about all that.
I didn't. I'll read about it after.
Yeah, their company was in development on a game with the Unreal Engine, and they tried to sue Epic over it, and then Epic countersued, and they had to close. And they made a terrible Star Fox game and were siphoning
But Nintendo owns the Eternal Darkness IP though, right?
They do, yeah. But the developer and creator, who they basically when they paid for the IP, they paid for to own the IP. But in the game, I like the game Eternal Darkness, but they just kind of they didn't. He went on to make a Metal Gear Solid with Nintendo and Kojima and everything, the Twin Snakes. And then after that, left and made Too Human for Xbox, and then their company kind of floundered. And like I said, they got in that countersuit and fell apart. But he actually got banned from NeoGAF.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he went on a little rant. So I just think there's a lot of weird vibes about bringing his creation back.
Yeah. Anyways, for me it was just I never played it, and I like those kind of darker, grittier survival horror kind of games. And I heard the sanity system's just really cool in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo also owns the Fatal Frame series, so it'd be cool if they ever took a hard stab at bringing that back, made it really good. As in, don't work with Tecmo Koei. Bring it to Nintendo's in-house.
Yeah. All right, what's your answer?
Mine was Star Fox. I just think they need to just basically take the idea from Star Fox 64 and make an HD version of it with fun controls and
you didn't love Star Fox Zero?
No, I mean, I actually really, I don't want to say
it's not a terrible.
Yeah,
it had its moments.
It almost kind of just felt like a VR game where it's okay, cool, that would have been cool, as an eShop downloadable game, but as a full price, bring back of the series, I didn't understand it on so many levels.
Yeah.
Why are they remaking 64 again? Why am I doing the same level over and over? What's with these controls?
Yeah.
But I think if they just brought it back with standard controls, all ship, all tank, had some cool roll moves, had some cool graphics, good all range mode bosses, and really, I think they could make it similar to 64 where you can beat the game in 2 hours. But they have to have so many branching paths. And ways to get medals and keep your medals and maybe buy ship parts and yada yada yada. There's ways to keep it good.
You played that game. What's that game that had Star Fox in it?
Star Fox Adventure?
No, the Switch game that wasn't a Star Fox game. It was by Ubisoft, right?
the name of the game escapes me right now. But yeah, I
But
know
anyway,
what you're talking
anyways,
about.
I'm just saying that game actually looked really
Star or something.
Star. Okay.
Battle.
Anyways, that game looked really good. I'm just saying, I agree with you. I think there's been a few games. I think Chorus. I don't know if you checked out Chorus that just kind of came out.
Sorry, it was called Starlink.
Starlink, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I played it and I loved it.
did you check out Chorus? Have you heard about that game?
I heard of it, but I don't know much about it. What is it?
I haven't really looked too much into it. I just know it's another kind of space piloting game. And I just wanted to comment about the graphics because I think Starlink and Chorus look really, really cool. And I think Nintendo can get to, like, they have such a good franchise there. And these kind of space flying games, people like them. Like, they look cool. They're fun to play. They just got to, like, almost stop being experimental with it and just, like, make an awesome flying game. You know?
Well,
I
the
don't
real
know.
question is like, do you do something where it's like Starlink is like a one open space? Like, it's like an open world.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I don't care what they do. I'm just saying there's so much potential to have, like, you know, really cool looking space dogfights.
I think they go more in the direction of almost like a Zone of Enders / Platinum Games kind of action where it's all shooting, but like you're barrel rolling really quickly and
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? And there's like a close range attack and stuff. And almost like taking some of the things from Bayonetta, like that kind of huge scale action, and bringing that style to Star Fox. I think it'd be awesome. You know, you have the multiplayer dogfights. Like you have a serious winner. Like you have a huge game in your hands if you do it right. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Like eight player dogfights. You know, drop in like Mario Kart battles. Like I think people would love that. You never know.
Can you imagine tomorrow at the Game Awards?
You never know. Imagine Star Fox Grand Prix finally coming out.
That'd be cool.
Anyways, we will talk about the Game Awards, but I wanted to do another topic I asked you about earlier, and that was which 10 out of 10s do you think the Switch has? And I mean, you laughed and said 0, so I said, well, okay, let's do our 9 out of 10s as well.
Yeah. I have at least 2, maybe 3 10 out of 10s on the Switch, and one of them is not exclusive to the Switch.
Okay.
So do you want to hear my list of 10 out of 10s?
Okay, sure.
So Smash Ultimate, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, for sure is a 10 out of 10. Like, there's nothing missing from that game to me, and it's more than a 10 out of 10 because it could have cut a whole bunch of content and still been a 10 out of 10 for me, but it just like went above and beyond. It's like overflowing. So
I
that
agree.
game,
they just nailed the feel of it and the graphics
everything
and
everything about it. Like,
I agree.
It's like, it's smooth, it's perfect.
It's on my list too. So.
Yeah. My other one is
the online is not perfect, but I'm gonna let that one slide.
Yeah, I agree. You know what though? It's not god awful. Like, I still can pick up online with my Ethernet plugged in, and for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it's not god awful. It's mediocre.
Yeah. The other 10 out of 10 exclusive is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Interesting.
I don't really have. It's my favorite Mario Kart by a landslide. I don't have any issues with it. There's tons of levels. I wish they put more content in it, but that doesn't make it less than a 10 out of 10. I just think it feels the best to play. It looks the best.
The online is really good too. I
yeah,
the online.
Everything about it. No complaints. The 200cc is such an awesome addition. Yeah, I just love that game.
Iwata-san's final Mario Kart.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In the last 10 out of 10 for me, which is a indie non-exclusive, Hollow Knight for sure, without a doubt a 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow. Okay, so you named 3 that were on my list as well. My list has 7 games, so I have 4 more.
I had 4 more 9 out of 10s, or high 9s probably.
Wow, my 9s I have about 10. Anyways, a few games that I also have on my 10 out of 10 list are for one, I have the game Inside. From the developer of Limbo. To me, that's a 10. I absolutely love that game. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I did like Inside a lot, but I don't think
I don't actually know how it runs on Switch. But when I played it on PS4, it was great. Okay.
See, okay, yeah. So just so you know, my rule was I had to played the game on the Switch to put it on my list at all.
Okay, well then don't cancel that one. My other 10 out of 10 obviously is Breath of the Wild. I don't know if we need to go into why that's an amazing game. I'm more curious about why to you it's not a 10. Let me guess, it's a 7 now or something, right?
No, it's probably like a 9.6. Like, it's still one of the best Zeldas. There were things that like I have my personal 10 out of 10 Zelda games, and it is different, and in some reasons that's why it's so great, but at other reasons, like, it's not what I come to expect or want out of a 10 out of 10 Zelda game. Not that it's done anything wrong per se. It's just I have in my mind what a 10 out of 10 Zelda game is, and this is different enough that it's still great, but it doesn't meet all that 10 out of 10 things I'm looking for.
I kind of know what you mean, as in if Breath of the Wild 2 comes
Like,
out and is a true 10 out of 10, like Breath of the Wild 1 becomes a 9 out of 10 in my books.
For example, like I like big dungeons. I like items. Like I like having the items and collecting those items, and the trade quest, and I like just I don't know. It felt it felt a little empty at times.
Things you wanted that didn't have.
Yeah, and again, nothing bad about it. There's just things that were like, oh, like when I think of the perfect Zelda games, I think of Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time. Not that Breath of the Wild is something wrong, but those are just the formula that I loved the most, and that's the ones that I look for.
True. I mean, I guess it's kind of reapproaching the entire formula and taking it for what it is versus what it's not. That's what I did. Like, I actually really liked the 4 dungeons in the game.
I like them too.
And I also really liked the sprinkling of small dungeons. To me, it's funny. Like, one of the things that I love about Zelda is actually isn't the dungeons. I like the exploring the big open worlds. Not even big. I mean, not necessarily big open worlds, but I just love, like, getting to Hyrule Field in most Zeldas, and getting to explore and go to towns and just basically exploring the world. Mm-hmm. And Breath of the Wild had tons of that, and way more towns than I expected it to have, and just way more density of trees and way more things going on. I loved it. So I mean, to me, it's one of those things where you're 9.6. I'm kind of just rounding to the nearest whole number. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I thought we were saying 10 out of 10s were perfect games to you. Like
to
me, like the three 10 out of 10s I named, like I have no issue with them. Like all I would want is more.
Okay, because for me, if we're gonna go into the 9.5 sector, I would give Mario Kart 8 Deluxe a 9.5, just for the lack of certain modes and single player incentives and things like that.
Fair answer.
And I mean, another one that's on my 10 of the 10 list that would probably be a 9.6 is Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, see, I'm way lower in that one.
Just upon replaying it, like it probably was a high 8 before on my first replay, just because the end game drained me out. But like I said, I think I told you this, when I replayed it and just kind of like crushed every level and like got as many moons as I needed to, and then went to the next level, it was like an amazing playthrough. Mm-hmm. It's so tight, the controls are so good, 60 frames the entire time, like it's so incredibly polished, great music. It's pretty much the peak 3D Mario game in terms of controls and like systems, and the way it works. I think it's better than people remember. It's just, unfortunately, the second half of that game is, when you're exploring everything, becomes extremely dry and unfun, and it's like you're scraping the bottom of a pan, which I never. I don't 100% game, so I don't have that feeling over. Like, I don't judge a game on how it is to 100%. The last game I actually have on my 10 of the 10 list is Super Mario 3D World Deluxe, which even though it's a remaster,
do you include Bowser's Fury in that kind of rating?
I think,
okay.
Yeah, so it's like it's enough of I love Bowser's Fury. You're gonna be surprised how high on my Game of the Year list it is. It's also something that I've replayed recently. It can be beaten in a couple hours, and it's just like the most sublime open world Mario game. It's like a big open world Mario game. It's amazing. And it also just comes with an improved version of one of the best 3D Mario games with multiplayer, and it's huge. It's like so much content in one game with multiplayer up to 4 players. I think it has online, doesn't it? Didn't they say it had online?
I'm not sure.
It's just an incredible game.
Oh, I want to play it when I come visit you for the holidays.
Yeah, and actually it does have online multiplayer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so... do we even get into our 9s? Like, you said you only had, 2 9s?
I have 4.
Okay,
and we already talked about Breath of the Wild is one of them. The other 3 are non-exclusive indie games.
Okay.
So I have Baba Is You.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of my favorite puzzle games of all time.
Surprised that's not a 10 for you.
It's not a 10 out of 10 because I there are some things that I didn't aren't
The
perfect
graphics
about it.
are could be better.
No, the graphics are okay. They're kind of cool for what they are. There's some puzzles that just weren't. They were very like they didn't explain that you could do certain rules very well, and I just have other puzzle games that are 10 out of 10s to me, and this one I didn't like as much, so it's high, it's just not 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And the other two, or the next one is Celeste.
Yep.
Celeste is like a 9.5. It might even be a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not on your 10 out of 10.
Like if I think about it more, it might just be a 10 out of 10. It's such a good game. I loved every second of it.
Great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack, tight controls, pretty good story. The levels there's so many levels, and every room is just awesome. So yeah, great game. Probably is a 10 out of 10 if I think about it. And the last one is Stardew Valley.
Okay, I had a feeling that would come up.
Yeah, Stardew Valley, like, oh my god, like I played it not really knowing what I expected, but I just kind of wanted to play something like Harvest Moon, relaxing, whatever. It was one of the first games I downloaded for the Switch, and it's like crack. Like, I would sit on a bus and play, and all of a sudden, like, hours went by. I'm like, oh my god, like I played this game for like 6 hours today, and I feel like I've done nothing in the game, and I just want to keep playing more to get my stuff going. I put like something like 100 hours into that game, and it's really, really, really good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people know about Stardew Valley. It's almost like an all-time classic now.
I know, yeah.
It almost single-handedly killed Harvest Moon.
I think
it's so much
it's
better.
it's without a doubt the best farming like sim kind of game ever.
Yeah, I almost want to get into it. I don't know. It must be faster and better than Animal Crossing, right?
Oh yeah, and it's just there's more stuff. There's always things to do and things you want to improve on. Like every day, I feel like there's too many tasks in a day to finish them all in a day. You know what I mean? It's like you have so many things you want to do, and all of a sudden it's like, oh damn, the day's over. And then you start the next day, and like, oh, now I actually there's more tasks, and now my crops are grown. I have to harvest them and sell them, and it's really, really good.
Well, maybe I'll have to dive in one day. I know there's co-op and everything now too. It's like they have so much to it.
There's co-op, and it's a really relaxing game. There's no stress. If you mess up something that day, like, who cares? You have the whole next day. And it's a game that is really simple that I think like Vanessa would really like to play it. Or
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
like because again it's co-op, so you can handle a lot of the faster paced stuff, and she can just kind of decorate the house if she wants.
At the same time too, because it's
exactly.
And it's co-op on Switch as well.
I'm not sure. I think there is co-op on Switch, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there is.
Okay. I have 2 indie games on my 9's list, which I'm actually surprised didn't get to yours, which is Hades and Cuphead.
So again, the reason I didn't Hades actually probably is a 9. I forgot I played it on the Switch. I don't think I might have played Cuphead on the Switch too. Actually, I would say Hades for sure is a 9. It'd be a low 9 to me, but Cuphead is probably a high 8 to me. I did not like Cuphead as much as Hades.
So, by the way, co-op is not available on Switch for Stardew Valley.
But I'm sure Stardew Valley's got to be free on Series X Game Pass sometime.
So sorry, you would give Cuphead a 9, eh? But
I wouldn't give Cuphead a 9. It'd be a high 8. Hades for sure is a 9.
Okay. Well, some of the other games, a lot of the games on my 9's list are kind of games that could also be a high 8. I just kind of rounded to the nearest whole number. Here, I'll go through some of my lists here. I have Splatoon 2, Astral Chain, Luigi's Mansion 3, Metroid Dread, Mario Maker 2, Bayonetta 1 and 2, which I almost gave that package a 10 because Bayonetta 1 and 2 is one game is such a great deal, and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze as a 9 out of 10. And I even added Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, the first one, because I would give that such a high 8 for the package it's giving you.
I had that game.
I know, we played it. And there's just so much content there. And the other thing I kind of put in brackets as a super high 8 would be Pikmin 3 Deluxe, if you've never played it originally.
Yeah.
And I'm also surprised that Fire Emblem Three Houses didn't make your 9 list, because I know people love that.
Wait till you ask me the other question you asked.
What?
You'll see. Wait. Later in the podcast,
Okay,
you'll hear that game.
The next question I have is, what's the biggest Switch disappointment so far? And Derek, what is yours?
Mine is Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Wow. So what would you give it out of 10?
I'd still give it an 8.1, like a low 8.
Okay.
It's still a good Fire Emblem. I love Fire Emblem games. Like I love those turn-based strategy RPG. Every Fire Emblem I love. It's probably my least favorite Fire Emblem ever, and a big reason it's not
You play all the Fire Emblems, like you play every single one.
I played every single one since the Game Boy Advance one, except the GameCube game because I didn't have a GameCube.
Oh well, we can definitely play that when you're here.
I would love to, but yeah, I played both Game Boy Advance ones, all the DS, all the 3DS, the Wii. I played every single one.
Wow.
Yeah. So, again, it's not a bad game. But the thing that really threw me off is, two things. Is one, I thought I tried doing a second story because there's 3 houses. You can kind of pick your stories. I thought a different story would be a lot more different. But the first 10 levels are identical. And then even after that, like, they don't feel that different. I actually found, I found the 3DS dual release. They had way better content as far as differentiating the two. I think Conquest and
Fates.
No,
Birthright?
Fates Conquest and Birthright. I have to look that up. Conquest or Birthright, exactly. So they were totally different stories in my mind.
At least with 3 houses, though, they're selling it as one package versus selling all 3 separate.
Agreed. But when I bought that game, I bought the special edition that actually came with the 3rd story as well. So that game was amazing, just because all 3 were very different stories. This one, it felt you were like very repetitive if you try to do a second story. That's how I felt. But the biggest issue I had was the non-tactical RPG parts of it. The school and this, like, it felt very like Persona, like the day, like in, I don't know if you've ever played this game.
I've seen a lot of gameplay previews and stuff, and I think you even showed me a little bit of Fire Emblem, like just the school and all those mechanics and stuff. And I have no interest in any of that.
Yeah, it's like playing Persona, where it's like, you have a day and you have to talk to these people and build their charm to build their thing with you, and like give them more experience in a certain weapon class. Like, kind of cool. But I rather just, have that incorporated into the gameplay that's fun. Like, it's just not for me. That's not the gameplay I look for in a Fire Emblem.
If they're gonna go into like the JRPG zone, make a spin-off series where it's a JRPG where you run around the world and you know what I mean, and battles on a field or like tactical art kind of stuff.
You know what? I played Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FE or whatever, I loved that game because I went in knowing it wasn't a Fire Emblem game and it was very, very different, but really a fun RPG. And again, this Fire Emblem's not bad. 3 Houses isn't bad.
You expected more.
It's not even that I expected more. It's just I was so let down by the slog of the things I don't want to do. When I think back,
you just can't skip the school segments.
Well, if you do, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage and hinder your like character's abilities. Like, and again, I compare 3 Houses to the Wii version because I think of the console Fire Emblems as a little bit bigger budget, a little bit larger, and the one on the Wii, I think it's Radiant Dawn, or Path of Radiance. Path of Radiance, I think.
Okay. And
that game has so many characters, so many levels. Eventually, you split off into like 3 branches for like 10 chapters each, and then they come back. There's just so much awesomeness in that game, and comparing it to that is like it doesn't hold a candle to it.
It's almost funny to think about that Fire Emblem came out on Wii in its first year, and like. It got decent reviews. I think it has like an 80-something on Metacritic. But like, it just like people didn't really know about Fire Emblem that much, so it just didn't blow up the way that it should have, right?
Because
it wasn't until the 3DS one. That
the
really
3DS I was gonna say,
because people were so thirsty for it, and I thought the 3DS one actually looked amazing, especially in 3D. Everyone bought that first 3DS. What was it? Fire Emblem Awakening. But it's just funny that like these Fire Emblem games came out for GameCube and Wii and just kind of passed everyone by, and no one even thought twice about it. Like they were these actually high quality, great RPGs, right? Like it's like it's this funny thing that's like no one cares about it till later, and it's just a rare thing in multimedia that's I think interesting. It's like Blade Runner, right, or The Shining. Like when those movies came out, they got bad reviews, no one liked them, and now they're all-time classics. Like it's just funny to see. If there's rumors that Nintendo's actually going to remake the Wii and or the GameCube Fire Emblem on Switch,
I would be
a
day
awesome
one
decision. It'd be a great decision. Yeah, it's like hard to get. and they're like you said, they're right brass bones Fire Emblem without all the waifu stuff on the side. But I do think that there's space for Fire Emblem to split off and almost become more of that waifu. Is it
I think
waifu, right? Is that?
I think it's waifu, like wife.
Yeah, waifu.
Waifus are like, the girls that people that love anime like want to. It's like people like would be your wife, like you'd want to marry if you were in an anime.
Yeah, like people who like the marriage and hookups and like teens dating in their games, right? Like Persona fans.
Yeah, but waifus are actually like the girls that you would dream, like imagine you being with. It's like you would say Lucina in Smash, like she's my waifu, like everything about her, like she's my waifu,
okay.
like she's my girl. I think it's like that. I think.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I think I actually wouldn't be surprised if a new Fire Emblem game comes out for Switch next year and is actually announced at the Game Awards. It's not one of my predictions, but I can see it really actually happening. Like them announcing that literally tomorrow at the Game Awards.
I would love that.
And in April being like, hey, you have a new Fire Emblem.
If it was those two, especially, I would love it.
You know, the other thing, too, I think would be cool is if they kind of went to a cool retro style for the map graphics and then really made some cool looking, somehow did a really good looking graphics for the fighting animations. Because the graphics really weren't that great in the last Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
I would just love to see, I would love to see just some crazy sprites. And I know, it doesn't mean it's easier to do or whatever, and it doesn't mean that it's, I just think of Fire Emblem. I think of crazy sprite animation.
I don't know if they'd go back to that because especially
I don't think they will either. I'm just saying that's what my dream would be.
Yeah, I just think they can get a little bit better than what we saw in 3 Houses. I think they just my biggest disappointment on Switch, I think we've talked about it, has just been Mario sports games. Both golf and tennis had so much potential, and
that's a good answer.
Just they were good, especially tennis. It's a good, solid Mario tennis game, but again, just like missed the mark, and like they had to kind of drip feed out patches and new modes to like fill out the game over time, and yeah, just not as strong as it could have been. Like these series could be huge, and they're just not because for silly reasons and not making engaging online modes that keep you coming back.
Yeah.
Anyways, Derek, last couple questions here I had for you, and I didn't ask you that I was going to tell you these questions. But,
okay.
It's December now. Halo's now come out. It got an 86, and it's kind of we know how it landed quality wise. But how would you rate this year overall out of 10? And then how would you also rate the Switch's year overall out of 10? And which console do you think had the best year?
I would say this year without a doubt, the PS5 won.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like this is not including last year's release launch titles. This is just this year. So we're talking about what?
Yep.
Deathloop and
so we got Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Death Stranding Director's Cut. We got It Takes Two, Returnal, Deathloop, Resident Evil Village is out there.
Okay, I'm thinking more exclusives, like why PS5 was better than.
Okay, well, what does the Switch have? Pokemon Snap and Metroid Dread.
Monster Hunter Rise, Skyward Sword, No More
didn't
Heroes
play
3.
it. Don't care. Didn't play it. Don't care.
I mean, I just mean in terms of exclusives, there's definitely an argument for Switch to be made. Like you can't just be like.
Let me just say, I think Returnal alone is better than every game you just listed.
Well, are we talking? I guess here's the thing: are we talking in terms of like you personally? Because then you'd have no reason to ever say Xbox. Or are we talking in terms of you kind of looking at the thinking? Overall picture?
I am looking at the overall picture.
Because I feel like
in the overall
PS5 had a very weak holiday as far as exclusives.
I agree that Halo and Forza are awesome games. To me, like Returnal is like going to be a game of the generation game.
Wow, big words.
I really think it's like Bloodborne. People say Bloodborne is like the game on PS4 that defined the PS4,
and people already think that'll be Returnal.
I think it.
You don't think it'll be the sequel or follow up to whatever they do with Returnal?
Okay, well maybe. I'm just saying that game is like going to be such a gem in 2, 3, 4 years, people are gonna look back on that and go, "Damn, that was one of the best games ever on the PS5."
Well, so how would you rate the year overall for all games across all platforms as far as the
I'd
gear?
give it a, I don't know, I'd give it an 8. Like, I agree. I think there was only so many games that actually got launched, and none of them were. You didn't have any face melters. I think to me, Returnal was the face melter, but
I know, by face melter you mean 10's.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Or just like games with so much hype around them. Like Resident Evil Village, I think is probably the game that comes close to that, just because it's a big game, or Halo. But I haven't played the Xbox games.
Metroid.
True, Metroid. Metroid let me down, right? Like I didn't hate it, but it let me down. So I don't think back on that as fond as you.
Yep.
You're right. Like there are some pretty big games this year. I just think there was, as far as quantity, it was pretty low. Quality, I think it was the same level as most years, but quantity, I think there were just half as many as there normally are.
Well, I mean, I almost feel I give it, I almost would land on an 8 as well, but a pretty strong 8, because it's one of those years where it seemed like there was maybe, like you said, not a lot of 10's and really, really big bangers, but like a lot of solid 8s and 9s, right? And for better or worse, even games like Monster Hunter and Skyward Sword and Psychonauts 2, No More Heroes 3, there's so many games.
Tales, Deathloop, yeah.
There's like a lot of games for a lot of different people, right? If you really looked at the range, right? From Psychonauts to Halo, from Pokemon Snap to Monster Hunter, from, Skyward Sword to Flight Simulator, so the selection is really good, and it's kind of nice because, it feels like without a big Assassin's Creed and with Battlefield and Call of Duty like kind of being crappy and getting really redundant, it did feel like there was kind of some air in the room. And also there was no big Mario or Zelda, so it leaves a big space for
next
all
year.
These kind of smaller. Well, next year, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, for me, I give it a solid 8. I think it was actually pretty good, great. As far as the Switch, I'd probably give the Switch an 8 as well. Not as much for the games that I played, but a lot for just being well-rounded for a lot of different players. It kind of had something for everybody. But overall, I don't know. I almost want to say that every console was a tie in terms of releases.
Yeah, I think it's close for sure.
I want to edge out the Switch because I feel like the PS5 had a very strong first half of the year, like very, very strong. Xbox had a very strong second half, and Switch had more like a decent, consistent throughout, but never that strong, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I really disagree with that, but I go for it.
I mean, I just like, if you think about the holiday lineup for Switch, in terms of Metroid, Mario Party, Pokemon, Shin Megami Tensei, like that's a pretty strong release lineup in a 2-month period over holidays. And I mean, obviously for Microsoft, and they have a strong release, but whatever. So you really don't think you give the Switch a low score, huh?
No, not a low score. I just don't. I think kind of like the Xbox. I think the second half is way stronger than. I don't think like the first 7 months are that good. Had to me what Pokemon Snap.
I think it depends whether or not you're a Monster Hunter fan.
Yeah, I'm not. And again, I also didn't. I didn't get games like 3D World. I think it came out earlier this year, right?
Yeah, and Bravely Default.
Too, yeah, and I also didn't get Mario Golf. If that's a good game or not.
Yeah, exactly. But, or Skyward Sword, right? Or No More Heroes. So like they didn't have a release list. It's just a
you're right. They had probably the best quantity of games this year for sure.
I mean, if I really think about it, all I bought was 3D World, Pokemon Snap, Metroid, and Mario Party. Like I did. That's all I did.
I bought Pokemon Snap and Metroid, and then someone bought me Mario Party.
Yeah. Me. Which might become a 9 at some point. We'll see. We'll talk about that in a bit. Well, actually, let's talk about our video game award predictions, which as soon as you're listening to this, probably will already have happened, but at least you'll get to know what we guessed.
So are we guessing announcements or the actual award predictions?
So I was, like I told you earlier, we're going to guess our top 5 announcements guesses, or guesses in general of what could happen. Like total like things that out of the blue, and then what we think will be the winner, our final prediction on what the winner will be.
Okay.
So I wrote down 5 predictions, and I have my winner. Do you have that, or do you have some predictions?
I have 2 predictions, but I'll probably think of some as we go.
Okay, so let me give my first prediction. I think we're gonna get another Deathloop trailer. I
You're
think
You're
they're
joking.
gonna have
I know you're kidding.
they're gonna have some sort of update to it where like you have like a new costume or new weapons or like some way to like new game plus DLC for free. And they're
100%
gonna
no. 100% no. As someone who's actually played the game, no.
I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
I can hear you backspacing, so I don't think it was a joke.
Well, I wrote down 6 things. What's one of your predictions?
So my first one's kind of obvious. Just because I live on a dream is I think Silk Song will be shown.
Okay.
I think it's the time. Again, they've been quiet for a long time. They must have something to show. This is the place to do it. And I think I'm sure if I think about Jeff Keighley, I'm sure this is a studio he would approach and say, you want to do something because I would love to have you, and I'm sure they're saying, yeah, but we'll make something because it's been a long time. We want to show the fans. So I have a feeling that's going to be something shown.
That's a good prediction. My next prediction is one that there's been a lot of smoke around, and it's also one that I'm living on a dream, is the Metroid Prime remake.
Mm-hmm.
There's just been too many people talking about leaking information about it, and I think it's time for them to show it. I think it's going to come out sooner than we think, because from all the rumors, apparently it's done. And I'm really excited about that.
Okay, that's a good
Yeah,
answer.
I'm surprised that's not one of your predictions, but
I mean that is. I was trying to think of things that you wouldn't say because I didn't want us to be like, oh, same here, same here.
it almost seems like people are expecting it. Like some people are expecting either Metroid Prime remake or Metroid Prime 4 trailer. Like there's just no around.
I think it's very likely. I could see Metroid Prime remake and then it comes out, in the next 4 months.
Same, like April.
Yeah, exactly.
Trailer.
Yeah. I think, I'm sure you might have this one too. I think there's going to be a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer.
Interesting.
I think it's going to have a new title name dropped. And I think it's going to be a 2022. It's going to say 2022. And I think it's going to it's going to be shown around the most anticipated game. I think they've already know it's going to be the winner, let's say, and they're going to show a trailer after it's won. You think I'm kidding? But
here's the thing. Like, do you know how there's that whole thing where Jeff Keighley said there's one that there were like 2.5 years in the works on this announcement?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
And then Reggie, I guess, tweeted and he said legendary. So people are like thinking because 2.5 years is from the time they showed announcement of Breath of the Wild 2. So it's like people are like, oh wow, maybe that's when he approached them and asked, and like now's the big reveal. Cool. Here's the thing: I can see them doing that only if it's coming out in the first half of the year.
No, I think it's gonna be holiday 2022.
I think it could be holiday, but I think what my realistic thought is that you're gonna hear about it more at E3, and it's gonna be early next year to come out with Switch Pro.
Early next year,
they're not going to want to launch that game running at 21 frames a second, and I think they're going to release.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be holiday 2022, and in the summer, they're going to say, oh, and also here's our Switch Pro launching with Breath of the Wild 2,
like they did with Metroid.
Yeah, launching with Breath of the Wild 2, boom. And I think, I can just see it in my head where it's like, oh, the winner is Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and he goes, and actually, we got to stop calling it this game, this name. So why don't you check out this trailer? And they show the trailer, and then it has a new name. I can see it.
I mean, I hope so. I think at this point, I'm kind of, I don't know, leaning more on the E3 big reveal.
So the one thing that also, I was reading, I don't know if you knew this, but Jeff Keighley had an Ask Me Anything on Reddit today.
Okay.
And someone asked him, what 2022 games are you excited for? And he listed a whole bunch, including Breath of the Wild 2. And then he listed Starfield, ? Or like he like named another game that like he didn't know if it, or he said God of War, ? Like maybe God of War is coming in 2022. And everyone started commenting me like, why didn't you have a question mark beside Breath of the Wild 2? Like, how come you said, people are saying, how come Breath of the Wild 2 is on your list of certains, and then you have a question mark besides that one? And people are saying, people have been, honestly, they were like, Jeff knows something. They actually, like, that's...
What did he say? That's
that was just his one reply. He didn't reply as a follow-up. That was just, but it was just... anyways.
It's funny. I'm like really, I'd be really surprised if it does make it next year, because they apparently they said at last E3 they weren't sure if it would make it this year. So... I don't
Anyways,
know.
I that's
I
I think
hope that
it'll
happens.
I think it'll just say 20. It'll say holiday 2022 or just 2022. But I think we're gonna see even if it's not 2022, let's say. I think we're gonna see a trailer and the new name, and I think
I
it's gonna
hope
be.
so.
I think it's gonna be around it's gonna win most anticipated game. That's what I think.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they did it like showed a little bit of game, like more gameplay,
Oh
like
yeah,
running through and fighting something, and then
I think they might even show gameplay of you playing as Zelda.
yeah, who knows? I mean, it's not. They have a big history with the Game Awards, right? They showed Miyamoto and Aonuma playing together that one time.
Yep.
Breath of the Wild, and that was back in 2015, like 2 whole years before it came out. And they also showed the trailer in December before. Didn't they have after the E3 where they first revealed Breath of the Wild on Wii U? That next Game Awards, they showed another trailer, I believe. It wasn't the awesome trailer from the January presentation, but it was another trailer. So it's like they have a history with. So it's not unprecedented. I don't have it as one of my predictions. But because I think that if they do show Metroid, I think that'll be like enough, you know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. My next prediction is that we'll see either Spider-Man 2 or Wolverine, one of Insomniac's games.
Oh, interesting.
I think they just didn't take their full team force to work on Miles Morales the update, so they've been able to work on it for a while.
I think they already said Spider-Man is 2023, and I think Wolverine didn't have a release date. So I think those are a bit off, like a bit far away off. I don't know.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little something. I mean, those are huge franchises for Sony.
I think Spider-Man's a good call because I think there's so much hype around Spider-Man right now for like games, movies. The movie's coming out next week.
Totally. I think if they were smart, this is what I would do. Even if Spider-Man 2 was like a late 2023 game and they knew it, I would announce it at the Game Awards for 2022, get everyone hyped, and then when I show it off in 2022 and it looks really awesome, I'd say, "Hey, it's coming next year."
Yeah, exactly.
That's what everybody does anyways.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's what everybody does anyways.
But I think Spider-Man 2 they actually have already put 2023, but I think we might actually still see a trailer for it.
Or it could just be like a trailer with an enemy, like a teaser.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your next prediction?
So yeah, okay. Again, I'm trying to think of things that you wouldn't say. So I said that Earthblade would be shown. Do you know what Earthblade is?
No.
Earthblade is made by the company that made Celeste. It's their next game, and it's made by. It's called Extreme. So it used to be called Matt Makes Games, but he or she came out as transgendered, and so she changed the name of her company to Extremely OK Games. So they're now Extremely OK Games, and Earthblade. I think Earthblade will be shown. It looks awesome.
Have they shown a trailer for that yet?
They had a trailer, I think in April or maybe at E3, like earlier this year. I don't know if there's any gameplay. I think it's just kind of a title drop. So they haven't shown any people don't really know what it is.
It doesn't matter. Like after Celeste, like they have such a pedigree. No matter what.
I know exactly. So it just has a title, and I think they said it's a 2D like kind of Zelda-esque like explorer action kind of game, and it's pixel art.
Cool.
Yeah, so we'll see what it's like. But yeah, I think that's a good chance of being there.
Cool. I mean, hopefully it's. I mean, I think it's going to be hopefully the best show yet in terms of announcements. The next thing I predicted was it's kind of a lame announcement, I guess, but it's that we'll see a Starfield trailer with a little bit of gameplay. They've been doing a lot of marketing for this game recently, but still showing no gameplay, and it's just like it's about time, and they got to rip that Band-Aid off. You know what I mean? Because people are going to like rip it to pieces no matter what it looks like, because it'll be the first Xbox Series or one of the first big Xbox Series exclusives, right? It's not coming to Xbox One.
Yeah.
So hopefully we see it. Maybe just a little bit of gameplay, a little bit of a shootout moment, or a town or something. Just some or a quick clip reel of gameplay moments. Something.
Sorry, I somehow like missed the title of the game you actually said. What actually game were you talking about?
Starfield.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I heard like everything you said except the name.
Which is kind of a boring name if you think about how many star things there are, right?
I know, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good chance we'll see that too. I think that's the big 2022 game that Xbox is riding right now. So I'd be shocked if we didn't see it.
Yeah, and I think if the way they're riding it so hard to me almost says like the game must be almost nearly done. right? Because like it's such a huge game, they're probably doing like massive QAing and work and like polish and doing the side quests and things like that. I just can't imagine like for them to be that confident with this size of game for 2022 November with a hard date like that. They must be pretty far along, like ready for, which is smart, right? To have it finished and be able to do proper marketing for 9 months versus marketing something unfinished and then making changes and going back. Like it's just a way better approach. What's your next prediction?
So my next one is I think that we might see the new Indiana Jones game shown
For Xbox.
For Xbox, yeah, it's made by
Sledgehammer, right?
Machine Games.
Oh, Machine Games,
the guys who make Wolfenstein.
We've predicted this before, but you thought it was going to be at E3. I'm really excited for that too. That's going to be an Xbox exclusive as well, won't it?
Yeah, so I think it'll be either like we'll see that, or we could see just another Xbox Bethesda kind of first party game. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a new Doom trailer, or maybe it is another Wolfenstein. I don't know. I just think I have a feeling it's the Indiana Jones, just because.
Or we see Redfall, right?
Well, Redfall, we haven't seen any gameplay of it yet, but I think Arcane, like Redfall's another Arcane game, and they just kind of had an over amount of time, like a disgusting amount of time in the limelight with Deathloop. Yeah, I think right now they're stepping back and working on the next game, and I think it's a chance to either get Ghostwire out there, but we've seen that a bit. So I think right now we have id Soft that makes Doom,
but the Doom DLC came out recently. I think we're another year or two at least from seeing their big game.
Okay, so the only developer on their team left in my mind is Machine Games. So
there's also Avowed, right? Which is that
I don't know.
It's like an RPG, Western style first person RPG. That's supposed to come out next year, and it looks pretty cool.
Oh, made by Obsidian. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and Obsidian, they're a top shelf developer, right?
For sure.
Especially under Microsoft's new approach. Who else also people predicted? I mean, some people have dreamed of a Banjo 3 being shown.
That'd be cool.
But who knows, right?
And wasn't Yuka, the company that makes ukulele, bought by someone too?
I believe it was Tencent bought a big chunk of them.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Great. There's also people hoping that we maybe see a little taste of Perfect Dark, which was announced at, I believe, last year's Game Awards. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually really excited for that. Like, if I really think about the lineup on Xbox, like, I'm so much more excited for Xbox's lineup of games than PlayStation's.
I'm split because there's some awesome PlayStation games that could come out next year and a few that are. But I agree. I think next year Xbox right now is ahead.
I mean, but the other thing with Xbox is that they always feel like their games are never really going to come out, and they're just announcing things for 5-10 years in the future. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
it's hard to be too like right now. It's like, yeah, they have a great year next year. The only thing that's announced is Starfield.
Oh, Stalker 2.
Okay, I don't know much about that one.
I don't either. I just when I was looking at getting a Series X, I looked at the games that are coming out next year, and Stalker 2 is one of them.
Well, my last prediction. Well, I have kind of two more predictions. One of them here is that I think Persona 5 is going to finally be announced for Switch and Xbox and PC.
Okay.
Just because it's this coming up on this February is like something like the 5 or 6. It's like it came out in PS4 in February, and I think it's like their contract with Sony is up for the exclusive, and they're going to port it the moment they can. And I think it's going to be even something that Microsoft might make a Game Pass game. So and I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like it's announced for Xbox on Game Pass day one and people are cheering, and it doesn't get announced for Switch at the show, but it's actually coming to Switch 2. Or vice versa, where it's announced for Switch but also coming to Xbox, because everyone knows it's a hot release, it's a hot port, it'll do really well. My last prediction is really lame. It's just that a new Kojima thing will be shown, and it'll probably just be the name of something, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah. I got one more. I don't know if I said 5 already, but
okay. What's your last one?
My last one is I think the fighting game, the League of Legends fighting game, will be shown in more depth.
Okay.
I just think again, I know you don't care because you again still haven't probably seen the show on Netflix.
Arcane. I want to watch it.
It's really good. Like cinematography is amazing, but
I really want to see it.
I think. There's a lot of hype around League of Legends right now. They've had a few games kind of come out recently that have had that card game and the RPG, and this Netflix stuff. So I think they're kind of pushing hard, and I could see this again. They're doing the award for best fighting game or whatever, and they just show this. Would
that get you excited? Like, is that something you're looking forward to?
I think I saw they've only shown I think a character or two in like their 5-minute initial promotion of the game, like the first time they've ever showed gameplay of it, and it looks really good. So it's something that I at least am interested about. It's interesting. We'll see.
Okay. Outside of everything we've kind of said just now, is there anything you hope that gets announced or shown that you don't think might happen, but kind of like a dream announcement?
Yeah. My dream announcement would be Sakurai comes on the stage and he says, "We got you again, Fighter Pass 3."
It's funny. I actually thought about that, and when they announced the first fighter, or announced all 6, or how would they do it? I think Fighter Pass 3, our Marvel universe collides with Mario, and you get Spider-Man, Hulk. They're coming out.
No, I think there would be a trailer for a character, and people are like, what is this game? Like, we've already seen this character in the game just came out 6 months ago or something, and all of a sudden you see the Smash logo, and then you're like, then it just says Fighter Pass 3, and that's it.
That's all they say.
Well, I'm just saying, there is history of the Fighter Passes or DLC content at the Game Awards, right? They had Persona, they had Joker, and I think they had Sephiroth announced there too, right?
Yeah. I just don't see it after how much hoopla they made over the final.
You said dream. Of course it's not going to happen. I'm just saying.
You know what my dream would be for Smash Bros? Is that they come out and they go, the final Smash Bros update, where we've revamped the online entirely. And you can play with someone with fast connections, and you can get better rankings, and just make it good. They do rollback netcode.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, what's your dream?
Ooh, I hadn't actually really thought about it. I guess my dream, other than what we already talked about, Zelda, Metroid, is just to see something new from Nintendo. A new Donkey Kong.
What about a new IP?
Probably not.
Okay, you want to see one of the a new game, but from existing IP.
Yeah, I want to see F-Zero come back, or a claymated Earthbound coming back, something that was really just wow, that's really cool. I'm glad they're bringing basically the Metroid Dreadifying another old series. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's very possible now that Smash Bros isn't going to be there. Nintendo needs something to kind of fill that void of hype.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild 2.
Or maybe it's Mario Kart 9 or Diddy Kong Racing finally gets
announced. I would love to see a new Mario Kart 9. Or it's Pikmin 4. I would love to see something.
Yeah. Well, maybe. You never know.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting. Are you going to be watching it live?
100%. Oh, yeah.
Sweet. And then who final prediction, what do you think is going to win? I have mine written down, so I can't change it.
Let me just look at do you have all 6 listed for you?
No, but I think I remember it. It's Deathloop, Psychonauts 2, Metroid Dread, It Takes Two.
Okay, Deathloop, It Takes Two, Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank, and Resident Evil Village.
So I'm not asking what your favorite is. I'm asking what do you think will win?
I'm gonna say Deathloop's gonna win.
Okay, I listened to another few podcasts. They thought the same thing. My guess is Psychonauts 2.
I want It Takes Two to win, but I think Deathloop's going to win by a landslide.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, it's weird, right? There's been a lot of weird backlash against that game.
Yeah, but the critics loved it.
Critics aren't everything, though.
Yeah, but they are for this.
Well, I mean, remember the year Journey won, right? So it's the Game Awards are not. They have a press. They sometimes give unpredictable awards.
This year is kind of nice because there really isn't one or two obvious choices. I wouldn't be shocked if any of them won. I wouldn't be blown away. If Resident Evil Village won, I'd be like, well, I would say, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Takes Two won, I'd be, oh, it makes sense. All of them make sense. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I agree.
Where if Breath of the Wild came out this year, it'd be kind of like, well, obviously it's going to be that. You know what I mean?
I just feel like Psychonauts being a Kickstarter story and just all the goodwill and good faith around the developers, and being about mental health and being kind of an all ages platformer, and also just giving that developer some limelight, right? Like it literally helps them to give them this limelight where those other series.
That's why I think Deathloop and It Takes Two have good chances too, though. Like those studios aren't that big either, right? Even Mercury Steam is not that like. It's kind of funny. The only big studios there are Insomniac and Capcom. Like the other four, sure they're published by big companies, but they're kind of small developers.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. If it's not my number one guess, Psychonauts, I think it'll probably be Deathloop or It Takes Two.
Yeah,
I just don't see it being any of the big publishers like Nintendo, Capcom, and I mean, It Takes Two is obviously a special case, right?
It Takes Two. It's such a creative, brilliant game. Like my heart wants that to win.
Okay. Well, we got to play some of that when you're down here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'll help you beat it.
Okay, we'll probably be able to beat it in like one go.
It's a good fit. Like it took me and Sarah 15 hours.
I'm already like 384 hours in, so.
Oh yeah, so we have 10 hours left.
Exactly. One day. Okay, so now we'll get to our final favorite section, everyone's favorite section, what we've been playing. And yeah, I have counted right now 6 games on my list right now, Derek. So I don't know how many games you have on your played list. You want me to do 2, then you do 1, or how many do you have on your list?
I've got 4 and a 5th one that I'm going to play soon, but haven't played yet.
Okay, well let me go first because I have more than you. I've been playing a lot of games. To me, it's right now it's gaming season. Like it's kind of slow on movies, and I don't have not a lot of work to do, so I've been playing a lot of games. Mm-hmm. I beat Metroid Dread again on hard. Okay. Took about 6 hours. Still couldn't beat the 4-hour mark. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I think you guys are all wrong about that game, and I just love it, and I loved it even more the second time. And beating on hard was just great because all of a sudden, like just going through the hallways became challenging at points. Mm-hmm. And the bosses are like, it's much more. It's funny. It's like I died less on the bosses on hard than I did on easy because you kind of get the flow of the game. Mm-hmm. But you just get into like a beautiful flow state where like you can beat a boss without getting hit once and trigger all the little animations. It just feels awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I'm trying to think what else there is to say about that game.
I mean, we had a whole episode dedicated to it, so I don't know if you had to say too much about it.
Quickly say that I'm replaying is Mario. I'm replaying Bowser's Fury. I just kind of threw it on one night because I don't know, I got bored and wanted to start a new game on Bowser's Fury, and I'm already kind of like halfway through. And it's amazing. I love it. And you've got to play it. Like maybe when you're down here,
that's the game I want to play.
Play through the whole thing once,
That's what I plan to do. That's my number one goal when I hang out with you.
But the thing that's cool about it is the kind of game where you can play and beat, and then like you're gonna want to play through again. It's like because it's so quick and easy to pick up. So I think it's one of those things that like it's nice to have in your collection along with 3D World, the whole game.
Yeah.
Thing. But
yeah.
Anyways, what have you been playing, Derek?
So my first game is Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Okay, let me guess. You beat it in one day?
No, I actually haven't been playing it that much. I've played maybe 3 hours of it over the past week. I just picked it up for an hour, and then a couple days later picked it up for an hour or two. I've just been busy and haven't had a chance to really sit down and grind it out. So far, it's really good. The best way to explain it is it's a 10 out of 10 PS2 game that looks like a really good PS4 game.
That's kind of what I've heard, but that's cool.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a throwback to an older time.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to explain because I didn't quite. Like I read about that too, and I think I
get it. I think because I played Jack and Daxter and a little bit of Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, and it's kind of like that linear style.
Exactly.
Platformer, like quasi Mario 64, like the PlayStation's take on Mario 64.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the fighting feels like there's stuff to it, but it's also kind of easy, but kind of like there's like it's kind of just it just feels like a PS2 game. Like you have to play to really understand what that means, but I'm sure you kind of get it. But yeah, it looks gorgeous. Like no complaints there.
Polished.
Yeah, it's really polished. The one thing that I think is the biggest issue, and the moment I saw it, I was like, my game must be broken. Is the entire game is smooth 60 frames per second, and the cutscenes, like these beautiful CG cutscenes, are 24 frames per second. Huh. So when you go from 60 to 24 in like a split second, it looks like it's jag. It looks like it's like frame rate choppy. Like
okay, you know what's funny though? Just to say, Halo does the same thing, and so do a lot of games.
It's just
I don't know why.
It's so noticeable. You know, like I almost would have rather they didn't have cutscenes at all, like CG, and just made it in-game engine 60 frames. Like it just like they. I mean, and again,
I do think it's extra noticeable on our TVs. Just so you know, like our displays make those things very, very noticeable.
I agree, and
like
again, it looks beautiful. Like those cutscenes look beautiful. Like you can tell this studio knows what they're doing, and the story so far is great. The music's awesome. I do wonder
what the caveat is for developers to make their cutscenes 60 frames a second. Like, it shouldn't make the video files that much bigger.
But it's whether or not it's real time. Cinematically, I think it's a cinematic choice, because again, this studio was previously a CG movie studio.
Well, but it's just like you said, it's one of those things when the gameplay is 60 and you're going back to 30. Like, it's such a jarring choice. If the whole thing was 30, it'd be fine. It's just
not 30. It's 24.
Well, even weirder.
I know. I'm just saying, it's like it almost feels like, you know, in frame rate, and it like almost like skips. It like skips. It feels like that the whole time. Anyways, everything else is great, and it's not like you get used to it. You like, once you kind of understand and get used to it, it's fine. But it's definitely the most kind of bumpy part of the whole game.
Do you think it's going to be on your top 10 game of the year list?
It'll probably be my top 10 just because I've probably only played like 12 games that came out this year. But I have to keep playing to know. Like, again, it is a really good game, but it does feel... It simple. Feels like a it feels like a PS2 game. Like, there's only so much depth and so much kind of cool ideas going on. It's kind of like it plays it really safe. You know what I mean? It kind of like it does what it does, and it does it well. But it's not like these kind of like, whoa, like, oh man, that's so cool, or like, what, that's a really cool idea, or like, that's a really cool upgrade. It's kind of like, oh, like, you know, the upgrade adds an extra attack, or the upgrade like lets you charge your bow faster. It's like, okay, like kind of like what you'd expect, and the you know, it's like, oh, there's a secret here if you climb up the rocks. Like, there's nothing really.
It's not like pushing any envelopes.
No, exactly. It kind of like it's a very safe game, but it's like the
envelope that it's pushed is that is what an indie game can look like now. You know
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, even though they're more of an animation studio that made a simple game, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the game's programming isn't too deep. I mean, I'm sure the enemies are fairly simple and stuff too, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're not doing any, at least so far, they're all like, you know, they're very on the ground, static, very telegraphed moves. Each enemy only has like one or two moves. Let me keep playing it before I give my final thoughts on it.
It's funny because, I mean, in a lot of ways, I would say one of my high game of the years is Psychonauts 2, which you'll be able to play soon. In a lot of ways has that same feeling of like the PS2 Xbox generation. Mm-hmm. Just like the way you get upgrades and the way things are laid out, but just it's more like the visual style and story that pushes that game over the edge. But what you'll notice when you play, I'm excited for you to play it because I think you're going to find a lot of especially the fighting mechanics and platforming is going to probably feel similar in that way that Kena does, where it's like pulled out of a different generation. Mm-hmm. Which but it polished nonetheless. It still just feels like a bit dated, especially. And it's funny. The thing is that when you think about, control interfaces and things, like what is the most modern feeling? Like, is it Mario Odyssey? Is it Titanfall 2? Like, what is the game that has like the best game feel and controls, would you say? Like, what's the peak in that department?
I mean, depends on the genre, but I think you named two pretty
I pretty much nailed it. Yeah.
Like for first-person shooters, like Titanfall 2, I think is the pinnacle of like how amazing, like, traversal and gunplay can get in
Doom Eternal to a large degree.
Yeah, and I think as far as like 3D platformers, Mario Odyssey, like, to me, the reason, like, I think Mario Odyssey is in that kind of 9 range or whatever because of the controls of Mario. Like, I didn't love the game as much as you, but I loved playing.
The controls are amazing.
The controls, like
I think it's bar none the best controlling game ever.
As far as 3D platformers go, for sure. Yeah,
I think in a 3D space, period. Like, I can't think of another game in a 3D space that has a better camera. Like, obviously there's games that have more, the camera's just kind of stuck behind the player, so it's a simpler interface. But like for a game that has a movable camera and player control.
Yeah.
I think it's the best 3D space
I'd probably agree
control
to that.
movement ever. And to me, that's why I kind of overlook some of the things that I wish it did better.
Yeah. That's what I totally agree in every way.
But anyways, let's move on to the next thing we've been playing, which for me, I downloaded a game the other night. I was just kind of like really tired and out of it, and I saw it got really good reviews. We've talked about it, but I kind of was like, what is that? Death's Door. You ever heard of it?
Oh yeah, I don't give me too much because this is like probably the highest game of my wanting to download indie games.
Okay, so I bought it on Switch. It was on sale or something.
Isn't it free on Game Pass? I thought it was coming to Game Pass.
I think it was announced for Game Pass after.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, I want it on the handheld because it's like kind of the perfect handheld game.
Yeah, I want it on the Switch too.
And it runs, I gotta say, so I looked it up after. It runs pretty well on Switch at 30 frames. But it does run on 60 on the other platforms. So if you do just plan to play on your TV, maybe go for the 60 frame. But to me, like, I got used to it pretty quickly, and that it's the kind of game where like 30 almost doesn't matter that much. Mm-hmm. But it's really cool. It's got a great style, like kind of like the style of Inside, where it's like really sharp angles and long shadows, and it's like a kind of a top-down, almost like
isometric Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. Except it's a little less than a Zelda. I mean, there's no towns. It's not like an overworld. It's more like you go through stages and get power-ups and can go back to other stages and go new paths and stuff, and the world opens up. But I'm really liking it so far. I don't know if it'll end up on my Game of the Year list. It might end up low just because of, like you said, I've only played 12 or 13 games from this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. The graphics and presentation are really good.
Nice. I'm surprised you're playing that. I'm really excited to get that myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else you been playing?
Yeah, so I'm going to name two because they're kind of quick mentions. So my friend Brandon got his hands on a PS5 earlier this week.
Nice. Did you help him with that?
I did not. He said he got one, I think, off Walmart online. Like it was something. Yeah. I think I told him which Twitter to follow.
Okay.
And so he got it, and he said, let's play these PS Plus games that came out this month. Because he doesn't have any games yet, or he's only got the single player game so far. Okay. So we played Knockout City, the dodgeball game. Okay. Super fun. It's really, really fun to play with a friend. I love that game. I think I'm going to keep it permanently downloaded. I can't recommend it more. You should get it. I think there's even...
If there's crossplay...
I think there is crossplay. Yeah. It's really, really fun.
Pretty sure it's on EA Play as well.
Yeah, and I know it's a game you're going to love, Peter, because it's one of those games where you can play for 10 minutes. Like, the rounds are like 10 minutes, and then you can stop. Okay. You know? And it's like Splatoon in that sense, where like you can jump in so fast. The game is simple and fun, and you can play a quick round, and then you just be like, I'm done. Or you can play another one. So that's one. The other game I played by Brandon's recommendation is this game called First Class Trouble. I've never heard of it. He just said it's free. Never even
heard of it.
Yeah, me neither. It's free on PS Plus. And he described it as, it's like Among Us, but it's 3D. It's like you're not first person. It's like a third person, kind of like you're on a spaceship basically, and you're one of 6 people, and you have to do certain tasks. And there's 2 of you are like androids, kind of like Blade Runner. Like 2 of you are like look like humans, but you're actually like the androids, and you're trying to stop the other 4. But it's like all this, it's just like Among Us with paranoia, and you're all doing tasks, and you don't want to leave each other, and you want to watch what everyone else is doing and stuff. It is pretty fun. Like, it was free on PS Plus. I'm sure I'll probably play it again with Brandon.
How are the graphics? Are they okay?
I mean, like, it's out on PS4 and stuff. It does okay. It's nothing to write home about. But again, it's a fun game. I'm sure Brandon's the kind of guy that'll put like 200 hours into it, and I'll put like 5 with him. But yeah, it was fun. No issues there.
Cool. So PS Plus delivering for Brandon.
Mm-hmm. Sort of, yeah.
Well, the next thing that I have been playing is I actually, to go along with Microsoft announcing their final batch of, 360 updates, BC updates, backwards compatible updates, I bought Sonic Generations because it got kind of a 4K 60 frame update.
Didn't you Didn't you already say you were playing this like 2 weeks ago?
I had just was planning to buy it. Okay. I haven't actually really started playing until just this last few days. My friend brought this over to my house a long time ago on PS3, and I played a little bit and liked it. And I'm playing it now, and It's interesting because it does look really nice at 4K 60 constantly, and it's got a lot of good kind of classic Sonic straight to the goods gameplay. But it's more janky than I remember it being, of course. And almost want to say Sonic Colors is smoother around the edges, but it is. I mean, for a cheap discount release, like I'm actually having fun with it. And it was the other day. I was waiting for Halo to update earlier today, and I was playing some of it. And yeah, it's just really cool that it feels like it has this super next gen, beautiful Sonic 4K sheen. Like in a way, it's the best looking Sonic game you can play, right, in 3D because it's 4K 60 like solid.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's got really clean graphic style, but it's still got a few things like the backgrounds will be these background images that are like lower res, made for 1080. So on a big 4K screen, all of a sudden they look like
like garbage,
like not as good as things that improved since. But yeah, I can show you that when you're over if you're interested. Just a couple levels.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Nothing to write home about, but it probably is the best boost generation Sonic. And trust me, like I went back and played Sonic Adventure 2 and 1 a little bit on GameCube, and they're so bad. Like they aged horribly. So if you want to relive that memory, play Generations.
Okay.
What else have you been playing?
So my last game that I've actually been playing, and I have one more game that I'm gonna play. My last game I've been playing is Mario Party Superstars.
Okay, same here, and that's the next one I was going to talk about. So that's great.
Yeah. So we can talk about it. So I played only 2 rounds with my 2 buddies, but lots of fun. And no issues at all. I think it's probably my favorite Mario Party that I played in a long time. It's actually probably the first Mario Party I played in a long time, at least seriously. And yeah, I love all the mini games. The map is just the right level of like complete total unfair bullshit. That makes Mario Party fun, but also you do feel like if you're playing well in the mini games, like you do have an advantage. But it never feel like there was times I had 4 stars and everyone else had 1, and then all of a sudden like they all get run past a boo, and like I got 3 of my stars stolen. I'm like, well, this game's bullshit, right? But it's like, and then you win another star. Like it's really fun.
It's all about the golden pipe.
I know. We had a game, Peter, where we it was like the last 2 turns, like there's probably like 6 golden pipes unused between the 4 players. In the last 2 turns, we just golden piped all of us nonstop. It was like disgusting.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I played a little bit with Vanessa just the other day. We just did a 10 rounder. Like literally that's it. And then I dabbled in the online modes a little bit, like the mini game stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really amazing. Really well done. Like
me too.
The layout I think the layout's exactly the same as the first Mario Party. I don't know if you remember, but like with the pipe in the middle and like all the Toad House.
It's a little different, I think.
But it finally has that thing that I've been saying Mario Tennis and Golf and Kart need so badly, and Smash Bros needs more of this. It's just like achievements, unlockables, things to do with your coins. Even though it's stupid, they're stickers and their backgrounds. And
I think Smash Bros has that though.
Smash Bros does do that pretty well, actually. I shouldn't have listed
like a disgusting amount. Right?
But I mean, probably better than Mario Party. But still, like it does that thing that these games need to do, and I'm like, oh yes, finally, like you give me something to actually play for. And the online stuff seems really smart. Like if you go to the mini game area, it's almost like its own now counter menu. There's so many modes.
I saw it. That was cool too. Yeah, I've done that.
Like I played some survivor mode and had a great time where like you're just playing mini games and like you have to win as many times in a row as you can. So every round you're like the first round you're doing a 4-player one, then the next one it's a 1-on-1, then the next one's a 3 versus 1, and you just have to win. And also the graphics, the load times, like everything felt really, really quick compared to what I'm used to. Like I didn't feel like I was wading through menus. You know what I mean? So I think we should try to line up an online game of that.
I'd be so down.
Like let me know, because it's really as simple as you texting me and saying here's the code.
Well, let's do like a weeknight next week.
Yeah, okay. And we can
works best for me.
We can do any combo. Like we can have 3 people at your place and 1 at mine, or 2 at mine and 2 at yours, and then we have 2v2.
It'll probably just be me playing with you at least that time, but
okay, we'll have a CPU.
Yeah, I mean it's not impossible also for me to see if Sarah wants to play on Saturday or something,
or see if your friends who haven't want to jump online too.
Yeah, Brandon has a weird work schedule.
Okay.
And my other friends, like, there's just the 3 of us, and they're not people you would want to play with.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, but I mean, I think I honestly think this is the best Mario Party probably ever.
I agree. It's really really good.
The graphics are great.
I do wish they had more maps, and I hope they do add those in as DLC. Like, I would love another 5 or 10 maps.
I think it'd be amazing if at the Game Awards they announced it.
Totally.
Oh, you know, if they even just gave us two or three more maps for free, I'd consider it complete. Just
Yeah,
five
agreed.
is just not enough. You know, no matter how many minigame modes you have. Yeah. So yeah, the last thing I've been playing, which I've saved for last, because I basically woke up just to play it and download it.
Can I say mine first? Because yours is going to be
you have one more. Okay, yeah.
That I haven't been playing, but it's just so since Brandon got a PS5, we've decided to get Outriders together. So we haven't played it yet, but I'll let you know about that coming up.
What is that?
Outriders is, I forget who makes it. I'll look it up right now. But it's almost like the third person version of Destiny. And it's made by Square Enix. It came out near the launch April 2021.
Sounds like an MMO or free to play.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like a squad of 3 or 4 people, and there's 4 different classes.
I have heard about this. It came out. It did come out right around E3.
And people said it was actually really good. It just didn't. It sold like trash. So I got it for $25, and I'm like, hey, Brand, like, you want to play this game? You like gun games? I like gun games. Like, I heard this game was pretty good. So we're gonna play it through and just enjoy it. And it's such a low.
I believe it's on Game Pass.
I wouldn't be surprised.
If you find out every time you plan to play a game online, just check if it has crossplay and it's on Xbox. I'd be down to join you guys.
Okay, I'll check it out and let you know. I'd be down to play it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'll let you know.
We need a game that you, me, and Brandon can play together, right?
Totally. All right, I'll look into that.
So, anyways, yeah, the last game I've been playing here is Halo Infinite. So I got it today, the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. Yeah, it took. I had to download an update before you can access the campaign. You wait for the campaign to download. So not having preload was a little annoying. But so far, I'm loving it. It's really great. They've kind of done this thing where it's not quite open world, but it's just open enough, and there's enough freedom, and you have this grappling hook that is just freaking awesome to use. And there's almost moments where you almost feel like you're playing Breath of the Wild, where you're like, can I get up over that rock? And you can just chain together these awesome combos where you're running and you jump and you hook onto if you hook onto the top corner of a ledge, you'll jump over the ledge. And you
cool.
just jump just at the right timing. And you can do this thing where if you're running and you jump and then you aim a little low to the ground, grapple the ground, and then jump right as the grapple pulls you and lands, you'll fling forward. So you can literally
cool.
just fly across. Just traversal is so much fun. And it's just really cool because you have these bases you basically have to take out or blow up their kill all the enemies or blow up their silos, and you can go to some bases and free some squads of people and then bring them with you to help take on that spot. They're just non-playable characters, but that's the incentive to go explore. It doesn't feel as Ubisoft style. So you'll literally go some spot and be like, hey, I'm gonna open the ability to use this vehicle. Now this vehicle can be loaded from any of the spots.
That's cool.
So there's actually a real incentive.
So my question is, I know we kind of briefly talked about it before, is it's not completely open world. It's kind of one of those games that I think it's more like big levels, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I'm just curious do you think that works? Do you think it feels too small, too big, just the right size? How do you feel about the open world aspect?
So I mean, I'll just be honest here. The first 2 levels are more traditional Halo, where you're inside of a ship that's blowing up and trying to get out. So those are fairly linear, or I mean, pretty fairly linear in a way. So, and they take a good 2 or 3 hours to get through those first 2 missions. So I've only just really played about 2 hours of the 3rd mission that opens the world up. So far I've just kind of explored in the very first, what I would call mini sandbox area. Okay. And so far I think it works incredibly well. The only thing that I'm wondering is why not go all the way? Why not? It doesn't. To me, it's such a good gameplay loop and controls and physics and style that I can see it actually working on a full open map. But they're guiding you just enough. I mean, it's probably for story reasons it makes it easier. And if you're playing this 3rd mission, and if you played it, let's say, you'd end up doing the same things. Like you go to the same big base and have to like get into it, and then the guys come and attack you, and you kill them, and then you can get up and flick the switch, and the bridge opens. Like it's the same. You'll eventually do the same events, right? It's not like Breath of the Wild where you can totally just do a different thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's just like so much agency over how you fight. Like, and it feels great. Like where you just like there's no one way to take out a base, right? Like you can be a sniper, you can go in stealthily, you can whip over walls and get a high ground, you can kind of slowly get in from the outside, you can bring guys with you, use vehicles. There's so many. There's so much player agency, right?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So definitely like one of the best shooters I've played, and I think it probably achieves what something like Rage 2 was trying to achieve, with being like a dynamic, good shooter in an open world. But this one really, really works. And there's like random events, like ships will fly down and get you, and so you got to be smart. And I'm playing on heroic, which is the second highest.
Yeah.
So I've been dying, but I also have to play serious. Like I can't just run in and be crazy. I actually have to think.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, so I'll know more as I play how that kind of structure of the world comes together. But the open area now is absolutely huge. But there is like an edge, right, where you'll just fall. And there is actually one edge where you can see like you clearly can get over later. Like maybe you come back in a different mission. And I was able to jump, like run and leap over the edge, and then get just close enough to hit my grapple hook. And then I got on the land. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I made it. I made it to like this other huge amount of land. I started running, and then it said, return to battle, 10, 9, 8. And I'm like, what? And then it just kills me because it clearly outside the invisible wall, right? So that was kind of lame. So it doesn't have that. But I don't know. It's cool. It feels so big, right? Like you can come down a massive mountain, and I think it's the best. The thing about it, where other Halo games, it's kind of like, okay, well, here's the rock side where I'm not supposed to go. Or in the Halo 4 and 5 where it's even more linear, where it's like, okay, this is the exact pathway I'm supposed to go. This way, it's more like a Breath of the Wild style of thinking where there are no paths. You go through the woods. You know what I mean? You climb the rock. Any rock that you see, you can climb. So all of a sudden, the terrain has such a different way of looking at it. And I think that's what the future open world games are.
That's cool, yeah.
Moving away from just kind of solid roads and Ubisoft style.
Yeah, like direct paths is kind of like, no, like figure it out, yeah.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the things that, I mean, I'm not big into open worlds. This is kind of a side topic, but after playing Breath of the Wild 2 and playing GTA 5, which are completely open, going back and playing Skyrim felt like really dated. And I almost didn't feel like Skyrim was an open world. It felt like just a big world outside with different paths. You know, because you see a big mountain with rocks, you're like, oh, I can't actually get over that rock and climb that. I can only just take the two branching pathways. So
that's how I felt kind of about Horizon Zero Dawn. It's like you just feel very, like I said it before, like you feel grounded and static. Like there's just not a lot of ways to go around, right? You're just kind of like stuck on the ground.
I wonder if something like Horizon would have worked in the Halo, or I would almost consider this Halo Infinite style open world like the Monster Hunter style. Do you know what I mean? Like big but sections. I wonder if Horizon would work better that way.
It might. I mean, they've only really had one game to test it out. The open world did work. It just, it was compared to Breath of the Wild, and it didn't compare well.
Well, speaking of which, the new clips that came out for Horizon 2 looked astonishing.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Like that to me was like, oh my god, like that's. And I gotta say, even though all these games on Xbox Series X, like Halo and Forza, are looking amazing, like they still came on Xbox One. So it's still...
And so is Horizon, though.
And so is Horizon. That's kind of my point. So like even they still look amazing, but I still kind of can't wait for them to cut the umbilical cord,
Agreed.
And even Elden Ring doesn't do that, so... Okay, Derek. Well, is there anything else you've been playing or want to talk about?
That's it for me. I guess we'll just see what the Game Awards tomorrow night will bring.
So, is there anything that will make you want to do the podcast tomorrow late at night for the Game Awards? Any big announcement that will make you say, "Okay, let's do it"?
It's not that I don't want to do it; it's that I just don't want to wake people up that are sleeping near me.
I see.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with the announcements. I'd love to do it. Again, if you were home earlier on Friday, I would do it for sure. Yeah, not really.
Oh, you're home all day Friday?
No, I get home at like 3:30.
Okay. Well, anyways, our listeners are bored of this. We'll figure out a time.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And stay tuned because we're going to be talking about the Game Awards next time, and we're going to do that before our regular 2 weeks. That'll be very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And let us know in the comments what you think some of Switch's 10 of 10s, especially if you think we missed them. Right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Say yes. Okay, well, I'll talk to you soon, Derek.
All right. See you later.
Bye.